This conference will now be recorded.
Go into recess.
Town of Cottage Grove will hold the annual Board of Review from 7 PM to 9 PM on Thursday, May 26, 2022 at the Town Hall at 4058 County Road N, Cottage Grove, Wisconsin. We have a quorum present. The meeting was properly posted. And I'll call the Board of Review to order. We have the minutes from our last short meeting on May 16th.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion by Williams, second by Fonger to approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Receive assessment roll and assessor's affidavit.
I can present the 2022 assessment roll. Signed. Level of assessment is 100%. Last year was a revaluation year. This year is out of maintenance here.
So a question with the one property that came up on Gaston Road.
Okay.
0.7 versus
Oh,
an
yes.
acre. Do we run into a problem in the future where we change the value of that road right away that they own?
Change the value of the road right away.
Well, you know, they own the
That road right
to
away.
the center of the road.
Oftentimes Dane County comes in and purchases that, or the Department of Transportation sometimes buys those road right-of-ways up.
It's in a township road.
Well, the way I understand it is that property owns 1 acre of land and it has a road right-of-way easement over the top of it. So he owns that. It's 1 acre. What is 1 acre worth? Looking at the neighbors, I did remove that and just called it undeveloped, just to not have an argument with him anymore. So the acres do match, and then the road right-of-way, I put $100 value.
Oh, so we never knew that, did we?
So
Undeveloped?
well,
No.
so
We've never had that
I don't remember
come up
that.
before.
the property owner, it was upset. He owns a 1 acre lot.
We went through it, yeah.
So the neighbor's lot wasn't 1 acre. He was valued a little bit larger, wanted to know why. We got into it, we looked at it. I continued to argue that it was not a palpable error. He was
Right.
looking for return in taxes. I typically would value that as a 1 acre, but since there's discrepancies, I left the 0.77 as residential, then the 0.3 is road right away at $100 value. Now I put 2 classifications on there, residential and undeveloped, just to get around that factor. I could have left it residential at the higher value and then took the undeveloped and still called that residential and put $100 on it. But for MAR purposes, I put it as road right away, undeveloped now. You typically will see that on the agricultural properties will have road right of way. And in residential properties, you typically do not have that because they own up to the road and they're still selling for it. So they own it and they just have an easement. But in this particular case, neighboring properties didn't. So it led to a little bit of confusion. And then the property lines on the GIS mapping were incorrect as
Well,
well.
Yeah, they don't show as the road right
The
away.
county told me that they never map them out to
that.
I mean, they always map it to the edge of the right of way like that. So none of them are mapped that way, but it's the meets and bounds description that said that it was an acre. So I don't know what the neighbors is, if the neighbors, I mean, did you look at their meets and bounds and maybe they're an acre too, you know? Maybe, I mean, there's subdivisions, that's a pretty old subdivision, and there's subdivisions where the road right away was never dedicated. And as they resurvey for one reason or another, then the town will always ask them to dedicate the right of way at this point. But
Right.
there's a lot of cases in some of those old subdivisions where they weren't dedicated originally.
At this point in time, I don't recall. I have to imagine. I looked into the neighbors and I saw that, and I think they had a recent CSM done,
Okay,
and that was the time.
because I don't know if this is a neighbor or not, but I'm just looking, the assessment roll though still has 0.73 acres. That needs to be changed to, you have 0.7 for the residential and 0.03.
Is that in there right now?
Yeah,
0.0, it should be 0.3.
yeah.
Should be
that-
Oh.
0.3.
So it
To
needs
equal
to
an
add up
acre.
to 1.0, not 0.73.
I agree with you 100%. I made that change. I have a feeling my technician printed that off prior to me making that change.
Okay,
I will tell you that right now in my software, my system, I have the 0.3.
okay,
And after this process, we will be sending
yeah,
to the county to balance again,
yeah.
and then it will be correct.
Okay, so I'll have
So-
to check and see what comes back from the county and make sure that that's right.
Yep, just the way, so he brought that issue up. I made the change and it was incorrect. We lowered it to 0.77, lost the 0.3. We sent that information into the county, and then that's when he went online
Mhm.
and saw and brought the
Access.
attention back up. And he's like, see, look. And I said, well, I did that. And now when we upload again after rebalancing after this, it'll be the acreage change.
Right.
I'm wondering, we have a lot of homes along Vilas Hope Road that I imagine are going to be the very same thing.
Yeah. If they haven't done a CSM at some point.
Right.
So like his neighbor here, I don't know, I wouldn't have the faintest idea of what a meets and bound description adds up to. But,
How about on Bus Road there? You know what happened there? The village
mhm.
took over Bus Road. There was a big point of contention because they took the
Whole
west,
road.
west side of the road, took the whole road, but those people owned to the center of the road too. And they offered them nothing for it. And then but they're not paying any taxes on it. It's now in the village, the whole road. In their front, that is still their property, but they're not gonna pay taxes on it because it's in the village, the front of their yard.
When the village annexed,
Zero
they
value.
took to
Yeah.
the right of way line they took the whole road. And so what they ended up doing was creating all these little parcels that were the right of way that each town resident owned right of way of, and now they're in the village because they took the whole road right away.
And I think there's a zero value on them.
They are now, I guess,
Now,
because
yeah.
people were like, why am I paying taxes to the
Yeah,
village?
this came up,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to put $100 on each one of those, and they
Yeah.
wouldn't allow me. The village said,
the
no.
whole thing was screwed up.
They're like,
Yeah.
no,
Right from
no,
the get-go.
no.
Yeah.
So I typically
Yeah.
can't do that.
Because it wasn't a unanimous annexation.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that was a great
Ah,
idea.
yeah,
either.
Good
Really,
idea.
but-
You're right. You're right.
So their front yards, well, the front part of their property is actually in the village.
Yeah.
That was a point of contention with me during the whole meeting when he talked about this, and geez, you thought I was an idiot or something. With the village lawyer, he just thought, that's great, no, we can do what we want, and that's the way it was, and
I just don't want it to come back and haunt us again and again and again.
We just
I-
don't want to set a precedent where everybody's gonna come and say my road right away should be
Zero.
0 or 100, you know?
I said it should be $100. I think the end of the argument was they didn't want the 2 tax bills.
Well, they wouldn't get 2 tax bill. Oh, and in the village. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they did not consent to having any of their land annexed to the village was the bottom line. They had no idea that
yeah,
they were having a piece of their property annexed to the village. The annexation didn't show them as owners. It was probably not
Yeah.
a legal annexation.
Right.
yeah, really screwed up everything.
Yeah, they were not none of them were on the annexation petition, and it was a unanimous petition is the format that they
Supposedly.
used, yeah. So
And
that
somebody
was-
had come to us and said, wait a minute, how come my land is this, but it says I own more land,
Well,
to
their
the
lots
center
in
of the
the
road.
town got smaller. Their lots
yeah.
in the town got smaller, and then we realized that it was because now they have little lots in the village. Yeah, that was a mess. But anyway, as far as this one on Gaston Circle is concerned, that would be the only concern about valuing that as undeveloped is everybody then gonna come in and say, well, I have road right away too, and then you're gonna end up having to do that for everybody. Because there are a lot of parcels in the town that still own right away.
Right.
They don't even
There
know
are
it.
homes.
Yeah, yeah.
And they don't even realize it, a lot of them.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, the ones around, the one next to him is in at 0.8, which is probably more, he probably doesn't own the right of way then.
Well, how'd you end up not owning the right of way?
CSM
Oh,
and
okay.
have it
So-
dedicated to us.
Oh, okay.
Well, I
But
don't
if it's
know.
just meets and bounds, we never see that.
Yeah,
Although that
yeah.
lot is a little smaller. I wouldn't be surprised if the one just west of him also owns to the right of way. Owns to the center of the road.
Yeah.
But they could dedicate it to us if they wanted to put the money, pay the money to,
Do it CSM.
yeah, right.
Yes. It's gonna cost them probably $2,000,
Yeah,
and what they pay in taxes, take them a long time to recoup that.
Did you talk to Mike or Steve?
Didn't hear from either one.
came to our, well, we've had a town board since then, but emergency government, this kid came down to me, he was walking with a cane.
I put your new phones down there and plugged them in.
Oh, you did? Well, so we're all set again? Did you keep one here?
Yes.
She
Okay.
did. She sent us the phone number. I have it plugged into my phone.
Ooh, never.
So, in case we need it. Okay. I brought my computer along tonight because a week ago or so you sent an email about a different email address for us. And since I'm technologically challenged, I thought I would bring it and we could maybe
Yeah, I can
work
do
on
that.
it during this unscheduled time.
So I'm just looking, when the county told us that it was 1 acre, they said that the legal description describes the property as 264 feet by 165 feet, which is exactly 1.0 acres. And then I'm looking at the one next door. And that one, I mean, the numbers in here are 264 by 162. So that's pretty much the same. That one's probably a acre
Acre
two.
also.
Yeah.
I agree as well.
But that one is only assessed at 0.8.
I agree.
So I don't know.
I want to look at the history to see how far back that goes.
Well, the one that, the 2908 Gaston, that changed from 0.7 to 1 in 2003. This next, the 2910.
I have 0.8 all the way back to 2008 on my digital records.
Well, I can just look on Access Dane here, probably.
What was it before that?
I have to go to Access Dane as well.
I'm
Oh.
on Access Dane here. It was, it's been 0.8 all the way back to 1999 on Access Dane.
So I run into this a lot in the town of Verona. I'm assuming the real property lister just didn't use the road right of way on that particular property back in 99 and didn't add it. And then the following parcel always included it. I don't know if it was done at the time of the neighboring property, having a CSM or something done.
Yeah, I mean, they're all still meets and bounds. So the neighboring property, and then looking at the recorded documents, the neighboring property, the oldest document was in 1975, but then there was a document in 2003, and I don't know what they were, but let me just see what 2908. That for the earliest document, and that one was 94. I don't know what that- But those are all warranty deeds, so I don't know if that's just change of hands anyway. Because that subdivision's, that's probably been there since, for sure, the 70s.
Yeah.
Can you see how old they are? How old is that 2908 Gaston?
How old is,
When was it built?
1961?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. And back then, I'm sure they didn't dedicate right of ways.
No.
Well, what we'll do is I will add that acre in there.
Yeah,
It'll be updated.
he's happy with that. I mean, he said as long as that's what was done, seemed to be satisfied with that.
Just so we end up treating everyone the same.
Yeah, because what's across Bus Road is all a plat, but these are all,
Bus.
because this is Gaston Road right at Bus.
Mm-hmm.
And this house is right at the corner of Gaston and Bus at the west corner.
Yep,
And that's meets and bounds, but then across the road is the subdivision.
subdivision,
Yeah.
Okay.
Cedar Knolls.
Mhm.
The question about the bus road thing was that on the east side, the school in the village or whoever bought the land and they paid to the center of the road. So then when they want to take the other half of the road, they didn't want to pay the people
Yeah, 33
from the
feet.
town. They wouldn't pay them. Even though they had paid for the ones to the east side of the road. And it still doesn't seem like it's right.
It's not.
No, not at all.
It's not.
And I think it's a good deal because they're not paying taxes on it. But geez, they could have just cleaned up the whole thing nice and easy and
Mhm.
give them a little bit of money but they don't want to do that.
Who was it that didn't want to?
Village.
Well, the village, their lawyer just was brand new when he was trying to make a case there.
Oh,
He said I was trying to scare people. Yeah, it was.
You're telling the truth.
Well, I was, exactly. He couldn't understand it. Then he said that the bus road ran east-west. And I said, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. And he didn't. He was, I don't know. He was on the phone.
Anything else anybody wants to look at in the assessment roll?
Well, that was my only question and concern.
How many lots are there left in Scarstone?
Where?
Scarston?
Yes, I always mispronounce that. The one that we just approved a $900,000
Oh.
house in the building permit.
I think there's One.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
One beyond this one that we just approved. Man,
On the, must be the northeast corner.
okay.
Yeah, I think.
Which store owns that?
Screaming Norwegian.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Things I've learned since I joined the board.
I think it's that lot right
Okay,
there.
yes. That's the one last time we were driving.
Because there's
up there.
everything else
Right.
is built. That one isn't.
It's bought though.
It is bought.
Yeah, there's nothing in name.
How did this happen? There's this, any idea?
God, if I was gonna buy a $900,000 house, I'd buy 5 acres or something, you know what I mean? Jesus. Have some privacy.
And then this is what he's wanting to sell next, is that correct?
Yeah, there was a 2-acre lot here.
Yeah.
Next to that lot.
Original.
Oh, geez, and I didn't tell you when I was talking to you on the phone that
Okay, because I have just finally. Are you done talking about this? Should I stop the recording or?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
well, because we have no objectors for the record, and so we'll
Right.
turn it back on if someone shows up or at 9 o'clock to adjourn.
This conference will now be recorded.
She didn't say anything, but it says it's recording.
All right, it's now 9 o'clock. I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
second,
Motion by Williams, second by Fonger for adjournment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
okay.
Adjourn.
Have a wonderful trip.
Mhm.
How long does it take you to drive home?
Oh, about an hour.